All right, here's a little bit of insight to how far I'll go for one experiment. If you go around the internet, you'll find that people mention a Q-5-er. Okay, this is a BC 453. It's a beacon radio. After I rebuilt it, the caps are all rebuilt. As you can see, it has a power supply on the back. So is the BC 454, which is 3 megahertz to 6 megahertz, basically 80 meters. But this unit here, the beacon radio, people use it to get a narrower bandwidth. In other words, if you come from a BC 486, 48, well, anyway, if you come out of a radio that's got 455 IC, an old tube radio, and you come out with the 455 and go into this radio will narrow it down, just say for the sake of argument, we'll say up to 6 kilohertz wide. It's actually narrower than that. And the reason this works so well is it has IF cans in there that are 85 kilohertz. Okay, you'd be really stressed to find another radio that has 85 kilohertz IF. Okay, and this thing's real narrow if you put a 455 signal into it. So this radio here is a BC 454, and its IF is 1.415. So you can't take the IF out of this one and go into here. You're going to have to convert it. So I went looking, and I really didn't find anything. So I started thinking, okay, what frequency that you'd beat against 1.415 kilohertz would give you 455. So normally you like to have the beating frequency above the frequency. So in other words, if you wanted 455, you would take 1.415 kilohertz and add 455 to it. And that would be the crystal for the oscillator that would beat against the incoming signal from the IF over here to get 455 over here. But you need a custom crystal. And I couldn't find any company that still makes crystals for $9 anymore. Years ago, for $9, they'd make a custom crystal for you. And maybe some bands, if you're, it'd be a little bit more money than that. I didn't find any of that. So I started poking around, and I realized I could come below the frequency. Same time you make in heterodyning, you can use a lower frequency that's 455 less. And it comes out to 960 kilohertz. So I went looking for 960 kilohertz crystals. And believe it or not, I found them. They came from Bulgaria, okay? Now, a lot of the experts, you got to be higher all the time. Not on the second dual conversion. In other words, this would be the first conversion in this. And then you're coming out of this one into this one. The radio's not going to care whether you're going high or low. Okay, but I got it. And then I made this adapter. This is as far as I got on the adapter. Okay, because I bought this socket for a tube, and it's mashed. It's so pathetic. The tube really doesn't want to go into the socket nice. It's junk. It's Chinese crap. Okay, so I have some retro sockets coming. I have a bunch of 9 pins, but these are 7 pins, and I have some 7 pins, but there's a hold on them at the post office. Now I don't know if they're Bakelite and they're putting out radioactivity. I don't know, but anytime I buy anything on eBay, every single project, I run into problems, and you got to stay with it. Okay, if you want to finish projects, okay, you have to stay with it. Now in this case, I noticed all the tubes I had were all 6-volt tubes. So I had to get some 12s. And I didn't have any. In all my radios, I don't have any 12-volt tubes. Okay? And the command radio, if I'm going to draw power up out of the socket and mount a tube up in here and put the converter on here with the crystal and a few more parts, I had to get a 12 volt. So I said, all right, a 12BE6 is used in a converter in a lot of radios. I won't say most radios, in a lot of radios. And it'll oscillate and produce the oscillator, and then mixed in on the grid 2 will be the IF from this radio here, which is the 1.415 kilohertz. That'll mix with the the 960 kilohertz, and it'll produce out of the tube over to this one 455. Okay, and I've never seen anybody do this before. I can't think of the other BC unit. Well, anyway, this unit here, a lot of people kill to get one of these. Okay, they're not rare, and you're going to have to recap it, and you're going to have a power supply for it. You know, but if you go looking for a Q-5-er, it's called. Some people transistorize this thing and all the different things they do to this just to get the more narrow IF and the more narrow bandwidth, I should say, for selectivity. Remember on my past videos that I deleted, there's sensitivity, which is the ability to pick up a real weak station, and there's selectivity. You want to be able to select one station. So if you're doing Morse code in a contest and you got a bunch of people real close to each other, you got to have selectivity. Now the old tube days, before they started adding filters, you were kind of screwed. You could add a poor man's Q multiplier. So this radio's got a Q multiplier on it. When you move this control up, the radio goes into regeneration, and you go up. You can peak this radio that makes it more narrow. It's lipstick on a pig. Okay, it's more sizzle than steak. But I did do it. You know, I didn't talk about it like those guys. Oh, you gotta add a Q multiplier. You add the poor man's. Yeah, I did it. Lipstick on a pig, more sizzle than steak. It does work, because if you keep the BFO off and you go into regeneration, you can copy the code and the sideband without using the BFO. So that regeneration does work, and this is the gain control. You know, I made a new plate. I went the extra mile. I've been doing these experiments. And these experiments are like, when I get the idea, I say, why did somebody else back then do it? Why didn't they make a plug-in converter that would allow you to come out of the radio and go into a Q-5-er? You know, these are the things that go through my head. It's like, you know, a lot of the articles, once one guy does it, they all copy it. Like the problem with these command radios is, you get 2 or 3 articles where they tell you to totally gut the radio. And then you put back in material, you got the audio output transformer, put another one in. And you get just a slightly bit of gain. And now you just made your radio not an original. Okay? See, my radios, once you take this plate off, it becomes original. Okay? And that's the way I shoot. I like the radio to be original as if it just came out of the bomber. Other people, they love drilling holes through the radio. When I buy a radio on eBay, I don't want any extra holes in it. That's just how I feel. And I've gotten screwed pretty good a few times. A person quickly stuck some type of sticker over a hole, or, that's why you got to watch eBay. But that's what I'm working on now. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to fit all the parts on there. And the way it's going now, the sockets should have been here for the weekend, but they're held up in Iowa, one of those states out that way. But I don't know if you can see how crappy this is just China crap. But here, where they bent it over, it looks like it was been done by hand. It's all deformed. It's not right, and then the pin hole size on the socket is not correct. Okay, it's a China copy, and I don't want it on there. So I got some old, I think they might be national sockets coming. They're probably Bakelite, and they're probably set off the radioactivity detector at the post office, because they do check packages for radioactivity, and then I'll put them off to the side, and someone will open it up and find out it's got some Bakelite jewelry in there or whatever, and that's what set it off. And then they get around to okaying it and finally sending it to you. But yeah, these crystals came from Bulgaria, and they took a month to get here. But I do things step by step, and I always have in my mind have a plan B and a C and sometimes a D. because you can't count on anything anymore, especially like eBay. You get you order the sockets and they come and they look like a mental patient. It's sad. It's just so sad, and they get good money for the stuff. They're not giving it away. And then if you say something to them, send it back, I'll give you your money back. But it costs more to send it back than it's worth, and then your time, and will they actually give you your money back, or just keep the product on you to piss you off? But yeah, I have two power supplies now that I can move around, and yeah, I do a lot of work, a lot of experiments with the command radios. I just I kind of like it. I wish I could send myself a message back through time about getting one of these when I was a kid. It would have been a lot of fun for 12 bucks, making a power supply and the whole thing. But of course you can't do that. But the next best thing is owning one and building stuff that goes with it. Like I said, I got 4 of these radios now, different bands, and they all have been recapped. They all work. And I've been doing experiments on it, and it's been fun. And here's the knob I made. My knob uses a piece of ice maker tubing. Fits right on there. Oh, it's got a piece of shaft in there, 1/4-inch shaft into the knob. Then you add some ice maker tubing, and that's one. And here's an actual knob somebody made somewhere along the line. Made these or sold them for command radios back in the 50s and 60s, and it works okay. All right, but yeah, I tried to get the actual spinner knob. There's a knob that goes on here that has a spinner in it, and they're going for $59 now. They used to be 2 for $5 way back, but inflation, nostalgia tax, and you end up paying it. But I just want to show you what I'm working on. Little at a time. I got the amount of time I spend with radios now down to about maybe hour and a half a day. And the rest of the time I think about what I want to do on it. And then I set up and then I do it. All right. And I've run out of projects. But this was one I'm saying to myself, well, is it possible to put a converter in there? You take the lid off. You pull the BFO tube out the back. You pull that out. Plug this in. And that's why I have this thing, so I can actually get in there, all right, and put it down, maybe with a set of pliers, whatever. I'll find out. I know from you trying on another one, it will fit in there. And the angle this is on is just about like that. I figured out a lot already. This piece, okay, alone, and this gets cut down here like an H. This will become like an H, and there'll be 2 screws, okay, and it'll hold the socket in. If the socket would have been good, I would have been on my way, but it's junk. I won't use it. And hopefully the sockets that are out in Illinois, somebody basically oversees it and it gets shipped, or I'm going to have to, as usual, contact my postal people and then have them call up and say what the hell's the hold on the package, But this is a running gag here. Anytime I order something and I have a project that's going, the package gets lost, it gets delayed, it gets shipped to the wrong place, and you say, well, how often? A lot. I did delete all my videos, but it's too many times. It's 50% of the time. If I send away for 2 things, the thing I buy the 3rd day comes in sooner than the thing I bought the 1st day, and it's further away. So it's just the way the post office is running. They're running short on people. I don't know. Maybe they need to give them a raise. My local dollar store is getting full now with merchandise. They now pay people $10 an hour. They were down to 2 old ladies that were willing to work for $7.95 an hour. Now nobody wanted to work there, and they raised it to 10, and now they got people that are willing to work there. And the people in my neighborhood, they think that's okay. $7.95 isn't bad. Where the hell you come from? I went in and let's just say when I first started working, I made between $1.80 an hour and $2.20 an hour, and that's in 1968. You go in that inflation thing, and it comes out to like $12 to $13 an hour. Okay, and they had poor people working now for $7.95. And I want to tell you something. I worked in a sweatshop. Okay, I worked for a company. He hired a bunch of handicapped people, and he paid them half, and the government paid the other half of their salary. But it was across the street from my house. I won't say the hours were good. That guy, he run hot and cold. You go over there on a Friday night, and he decide he's going to work me till 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock at night, testing circuit boards and stuff like that. And I'd be stuck there. And then I'd have to come in the next morning. He never worked a Sunday. Okay, he would come in on Sunday, but he wouldn't work on Sunday because it's probably double time or whatever. But and he did pay me overtime for Saturday, even if I it didn't have a full 40 hours. See, that's the new game they play. They don't work your 40 hours, so they don't have to pay you overtime on Saturday. But I went through a lot of my life, and if I could, I would send a message back to myself to buy one of these things, you know, because it's like a double A, All American 5, AA5 radio with an extra IF, but the tubes are like the first group of AA5 radio, and they really pack these tubes in tight. And all these chassis are the same chassis. It's just in some cases they change the tube and the wiring's a little different. But they pumped these out for World War II, and the design is like from 1939. They stuck with an old reliable design, and I'm thinking they used different IFs, so the oscillators would be at a different frequency. So the radios, they had like 6 to 8 of these things in a bomber, so the radios wouldn't interfere with each other. You know, they really thought it out, and some of these are really nice. None of mine are in really great shape. I can't think 548, BC 548. I think that's right. I own one of those, and it's got a dynamotor in it. I have the dynamotor for these. It's pretty interesting stuff. All the years I was in electronics and fixed all kinds of things for people, I never saw these. And I think I might have saw these at the ham flea market. Like I said, I saw a guy unloading a car, and they were sort of laughing at them. And at the end of the day, I was near one of the guys. They were like hiding them in people's cars just to get rid of them. But it's not a bad radio, but it's too wide. So by coming out of one and going into the Q-5-er, you can make it more narrow. I'm only doing this as an experiment. You know, that's how I am. But there's people that turn this Q-5-er unit, which is a BC453. They've transistorized this thing. There's people that constantly, well, oh, what will it take for me to rebuild one? And once you tell them you got to rebuild all the caps, they're gone. They're gone. And rebuilding the caps isn't the problem. Where are you going to get the power supply? And even if you get a dynamotor, you got to run the dynamotor with 24-volt DC supply at a couple amps. So well, I can tell a bullshit message because I own them. I've worked on them. And you can tell, you know, the guy's real excited for 2 days until he adds up how much the capacitors cost and how much work it's going to be. And then it goes in the cellar, and it goes in a box, and then the cellar floods, the box gets wet, and then they put it on eBay. I think that's it. All right, that's it.